Flat Earth Debate live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a coffee, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and X. Now, we are joined by absolutely nobody in the Discord server and Neil, plus click OK, so welcome one and all.
How are you? Price of Adam once here.
Hello, good to have some enthusiasm from the click OK crowd. We might get a conversation together. We will see how we get on. It's Friday, and I've had a very, very hectic week. I'm glad it's only been a couple of days of Flat Earth Debate, as much as it pains me to say that, because I love doing the show. It's definitely my favourite part of the day, each day that we do it. But when you've got a lot on, it's quite stressful. So I've got to be honest, I'm not too disappointed that we've got through to Friday. Hooray! And yeah, Friday with very barely a soul here isn't so great. So if you did want to join, as I suggested in the intro, there's a link below this video, so join the Discord server. We had a pop-in visit from our illustrious leader on the Discord side, Righteous Force. Came and went, didn't even say hello. Checked that we paid the rent and buggered off immediately. Outrageous it was. Yeah, we'll do a bit of housekeeping. I've only got a couple of participants that can take part, but hopefully I'll get some answers. We'll see how we get on. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge that's a horizon, formerly known as Earth curve?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The horizon.
What about it?
That's where, if I'm standing on a beach and I'm looking at a boat floating in the distance and it just floats out of my sight, that means it went over the curve of the Earth. That's what the horizon's all about, Earth curve.
No. See, that suggestion that the boat went over the horizon, called Earth curve, is Earth curve only in a mathematics called Earth curve mathematics. And that Earth curve, residing at 1.22 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, physical in nature, marked with an X and labelled horizon, not only relies on Earth being measured flat at surface level, and your elevation perpendicular to surface level, and your eye level flat parallel with the flat surface level. You also have to believe that you are viewing the world in side view with your own head in shot at a geometric horizon below the flat surface level you've just measured at 1.22 times the square root of the observer's height off a flat Earth in feet. So that you can say the distance, measured in a linear fashion in kilometres or miles, can infer that there's a blockage for the horizon mathematicized below the surface level to be obscuring your view at a distance that's also measured flat. So no, boats don't go over a physical geometric sphere edge horizon formerly known as Earth curve marked with an X and labelled horizon in Earth curve mathematics. That relies on us measuring the surface as a flat, plane surface to achieve those inferences of Earth curve blocking boats. Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
You mean Earth movement?
No, there's an alleged axial rotation of the surface we're standing on.
Look, I don't feel nothing.
I don't feel anything either. I mean, it's not like I'm numb to the world. I mean, I don't feel the movement of the surface because there is none. If the world was turning, we'd notice a deflection at 15 degrees an hour if it's alleged to be the same rate as the movement of the stars that we can observe. And there'd be a Coriolis deflection. We'd notice. Things would drift. They don't because there isn't any Coriolis deflection, and that's precisely what they claim to prove. We have Earth rotation. We just don't have any effects of the claim to be Coriolis force observable to us. Ergo, there is no evidence of us turning. There's only the inference that comes with the suggestion that there's going to be a Coriolis deflection that doesn't exist. The evidence of the distance to the sun.
93 million miles away. It's in the textbooks.
No. Your 93 million mile distance is a heliocentric derivation of an R value assumed by Christian Huygens to be the same size as Earth's when looking at Venus. And Earth's assumed radius value, put into motion by Copernicus, is derived by Al-Biruni measuring physical geometric sphere edges for horizons below surface level, and then taking elevation angle measurements to stars, for example Polaris, to create concentric rings that are flat, to be later wrapped around a spherical surface after projecting the star view that we get with a parallel sky into a celestial sphere, and then PZX points can be plotted through an equatorial plane that we measured the angles from, through a ball we're not standing on, to the equatorial plane. When you've got that system, you can then take that geocentric system and put it into motion around the sun from the equatorial plane at vernal equinox, all requiring a plane of reference for us to move around the sun mathematically. So we're going to measure a flat Earth, create a system with a ball wrapped around us that we call the stars, celestial sphere, and then put that in motion along an asymptotically flat plane of the universe around the sun, aka Copernicus. Assume we've got scale and size from Huygens with Venus, and scale and size for Earth as a ball violating the base principle of the Earth that's flat that we measure. That's Al-Biruni. No, I mean, I'm not going to accept that we've got that distance, Neil. I can unpack every single element of the assumptions that are utilised and measured flat, I might add, in terms of Earth, to get to that 93 million mile distance. It's nonsense. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Yeah, things go down.
Yes, things do go down. I'll just say that again. Maybe you didn't hear the question. Any scientific evidence of gravity? Some things go down, some things go up. Like the gas. Look up if you don't believe me and observe a cloud. Gases aren't going down, they're not pooling in puddles. Fundamentally, gas dispersion debunks the notion of a force of gravity pulling things down, go boom boom, go splash splash. They don't. Gas is expanding in all directions. Meanwhile, that notion of a force to pull things towards the ground was superseded 110 years ago by a pseudo-geometry invented by a man named Einstein. Now, I'm not too concerned with the descriptions of a pseudo-geometry. We, not in La La Land gravity, observe the world exactly as it occurs. And it occurs in 3 dimensions, not 4. We don't have a 4th dimension. It was invented by Einstein in his pseudo-geometry. The bending and warping of said 4th dimension that does not exist is the new hotness known as Einsteinian gravity. Not something we need to concern ourselves with physical reality. It only exists in maths. Time does not bend. Time is also conceptual. But Einstein's time-bending dimension is alleged to be the new hotness of gravity. Not a force. End quote, George Musa.
So is that that particular gravity you're talking about, is that where we get orbits from?
No. You get certain aspects of gravity like gravitational accretion in the Newtonian description of gravity. Same goes for aspects of soon to be perhaps defunct moon landing rhetoric, like dropping hammers and stuff. Brian's all over this more than me because I find it, I smile because I find it very difficult to go through the stuff that is heliocentric by definition, like the moon landing, right? I've got no interest in it anymore. It's just so silly. So for me to start pulling it apart and looking at the nonsense waffle of the Einsteinian rhetoric of gravity that's incorporated into the moon landing, in spite of it being, what, 70 years out of date when they went? I mean, that's pretty crazy when you think about it.
No, but there's a reason why. I'm going to tell you why. Because I think it is tonight. I pulled an article from the BBC, and you're supposedly going to have a buck moon tonight, full moon, right? And you will be able to see, depending on where you are, the International Space Station go by. So you're saying that outer space, the vacuum of space, is fake, but they're telling me that there's going to be a visible ISS tonight.
Yeah, what's the ISS though?
International Space Station. There's people in there.
Well, no, because that's the problem. They've got two of those. One that they've labelled ISS, end quotes, light in sky, and the other that's underwater in a submersion tank that they have men floating around in it pretending to repair it, pretending to be in a sky vacuum that doesn't exist. Now, they say the two are the same thing, but we know for a fact that the one that's in the deep submersion tank is the only one that men are flying around, if you want to call it that. They're in water. Because the alleged Lite version is alleged to be in a sky vacuum, whizzing around in an orbital motion. We just spent, in the last housekeeping question, some time debunking in terms of the notions of heliocentric orbital motion invented by men derived from flat Earth measurements. It's absurd. Meanwhile, the asymptotically flat plane of existence that is described in orbital motion isn't capable of reification. So we don't have any of these descriptions of the planets, Earth, Sun, that Copernicus, Huygens, Kepler, all of these people gave us. They're just maths. Meanwhile,
well, it says that between the 9th and the 11th of July, the buck moon rises in the southeast, poking its head above the horizon around 10 p.m. It's located in the constellation Sagittarius, which never rises very high in the sky for those of us in the northern hemisphere. What's that?
The hemisphere is the polar-centric system measured flat with latitude in the first instance that's been expanded out into a south pole-centric system, which has got a lot of problems, but the two get sandwiched antipodal from one another. Two flat planes, one on top of the other, equatorial. And then that creates the hemispherical combined view that we call the celestial sphere, the one that I detailed about 10 minutes ago, having the PZX projection of the globe put around an equatorial plane, north or south, if described as a sphere, that represents the planar view of the sky versus the planar ground that we stand and measure it with respect to, and then plot the angles we see of the planar flat sky from the planar flat ground base of the protractor as the angles that we see through that protractor, and then represent as though they're stuck to the protractor, like the stars are actually wrapped around us spherically. They're not. They're certainly not measured that way. They're measured flat. And by that I mean in the sky, parallel with the ground. The perspective view. Now if you say, no, that's not right, the stars are actually wrapped around us, heliocentrically. No, they're not. Imagine this, you're standing with a star directly above you, at your zenith, that means directly above your head. Okay? That's one star. To the left of you, you've got a star touching the horizon. And on the other, to your right, horizon, you've got the moon just coming up. It's 10 o'clock at night, right? Just coming up over the horizon. Did the moon come out of the ground? No, it did not. Is the moon smashed into the ground for anybody anywhere on the surface of Earth? No, absolutely not. It's in the sky for everyone always. But it's on the horizon. Yeah, it's at 0 or 180 on a protractor if you measure it. That's your hemispherical view of the stars, otherwise known as the southern hemisphere. Or northern.
Yeah, there's no stars under my feet, but it's probably going to be a good sight, though. It says that means the buck moon will be low, horizon grazing full moon, and also instantly the furthest moon from the sun of the year. If you get your timing right and you happen to be in a favorable location, you might be able to spot the International Space Station in the sky on the same night that the buck moon rises. Hmm.
Isn't it supposed to be in the moon
I'm gonna-
every freaking night? In the moon, in the night sky every night. I mean, what they're babbling about? They're saying it occults the moon. Is that all they're saying?
Well, they're saying you're going to be able to see them both at the same time, depending on where you are.
Yeah. Are they suggesting that this ISS is going to occult the moon? In other words, by their estimation, one will fly in front of. That's their rhetoric, not
Yes.
mine. The other.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't
So
buy
you
that.
can see
I
with
don't
the
know.
naked.
Back to what the ISS is. What is it? As far as I'm concerned, the elaborate hoax that is the ISS, with the fake ceilings, CGI, pretending that men fly around, yeah, with all these wires on the outside that they need to get outside and repair, yeah, that whole story exists in a sky vacuum that doesn't exist. Meanwhile, the sky vacuum that doesn't exist does have a lie, also named the ISS. As far as I'm concerned, that light's always been there. It just doesn't quite work with their version of heliocentric orbital motion. Therefore, they have to account for it. Therefore, it becomes a frickin' spaceship. But it isn't. It's just another light in the sky, as far as I'm concerned. It's not in a sky vacuum, is it?
Well, I mean, they really. Let me just read this. The ISS is certainly visible without the need for binoculars or a telescope you if you know when and where to look. In fact, the space station's orbit means it passes over about 90% of the world's population.
Wait.
It's likely
Stop.
flown above your head.
Right, but if you're going to actually find out where it would be at what time, you'd need to be able to gather a measurement for it, wouldn't you?
Oh, yeah.
Right. Do they give you a measurement?
No.
Well, when you go and look up what angle to look at in the sky, know this, the angle is like the angle on screen now. Let's say the ISS traverses this yellow thing on this diagram. We're going to call it the moon. I know it's not. But then you've got to measure a flat Earth elevation angle to it to know what time it's going to pass at what angle with respect to a planar surface. That's how we measure everything always. So you know the ISS is going past because we're in an orbital motion, because the orbital motion comes from a planar measurement of an angle with respect to the equatorial plane when we depict the world like this on screen now, with us inside the ball on a flat plane, with PZX points projected through a ball that we're not standing on, we're making angles from within it, through to the celestial hemisphere, in this instance plonked antipodal north and south, giving us a celestial sphere, with globe in between. But we're still terminating the angle here, in the centre. Well, that termination of the angle is where you measure the angle. Nobody's actually inside a ball in hell. And in this diagrammatical example, we've just got a black void in the shape of an iron. Well, no, around the equator would be the equatorial plane, a flat plane that you're standing on to measure this angle. Well, those angles measured through a ball you're not standing on, to the sky that was measured flat and plotted with respect to its angle view I just detailed about 20 minutes ago, like it's a protractor. In other words, imagine this entire thing is just a protractor, because that's precisely what it is. It's representing the view that you get from this point. Now, does anybody ever get a view from in hell at the core of Earth to make the angle work? No. But in terms of how heliocentric motion works, you're working from the equatorial plane. You can't even have it work for the entirety of the span of the time and movement of the stars. It only works from one point in time, at vernal equinox. That's it. It's garbage. It's nonsense. You're not in a ball. And the sky that was measured to give you this garbage was flat. So was the ground. All of this is to void out where you actually stand and measure angles to stars. Well, you're also going to be measuring your angle to the ISS if you want to know what time it's going to be where. And if you do, you've measured a flat Earth to do it. And if you suggest that it's now moving in orbital motion, well, the orbital motion is this. It's come from flat Earth planar measurements at the equatorial plane at vernal equinox. You measured the flat Earth to create this nonsense, to stand in it, to describe angles to things like the ISS. Garbage. There's no ISS in the form that they say. There's no men floating around in a sky vacuum. It's a violation of natural law. The sky is not a vacuum.
So then why does it say it circles every 90 minutes, giving astronauts on board 16 sunrises and sunsets every day and giving us down on the ground the chance to see a bright overhead pass?
Because there's a light in the sky. I already covered this. Because there's a light in the sky that they need to account for that doesn't work with the current heliocentric rhetoric of orbital motion. So they ascribe it a new motion that we've put in motion around a ball Earth that doesn't exist. There is no ball Earth for the ISS to fall around at 17,500 miles per hour, as the rhetoric suggests. That's garbage waffle. And the speed, distance, and path and motion are all mathematically derived from a flat Earth measurement. So if you're going to suggest that it's moving around the curved surface, we measured flat to mathematically create a curved surface. No. Not only has it not got a curved surface, it violates the base measurement that created it mathematically. You've got a sky vacuum suggestion for the men to be in the tin can floating around. So no, on every single score, the light you call the ISS is not the stage show in a pool.
Hey, Nathan, you'll like this last part. Listen to what it says about the full moon. It says, this full moon in July won't rise very much above the southern horizon, meaning you'll need a clear, flat horizon to see it.
Yeah, horizons are flat. Jolly good.
So they come with all of that nonsense, and at the end, they claim the horizon's flat because it is.
Any evidence you can have gas pressure, like the stuff we're all breathing, stuff that expands in all directions, forms clouds and things like that. Any evidence you can have that gas pressure without a container for the gas pressure to press upon?
Yes, I just told you the ISS, there's people in there.
Look, the ISS is in a pool. It's in a pool. There's also a light that goes above our head. Now, they've named it the same thing they called their pool tin can. But the light is not the tin can. The light's alleged to be in a sky vacuum. It isn't. The light's alleged to have men moving at 17,500 miles an hour in an orbital motion. It isn't. That mathematised orbital motion comes from flat plane measurements. A violation of the very measurement that's used to create mathematically a path for it to move in. Therefore, it isn't moving in that path. They just lied.
So you're saying we debunked that because it's a violation of natural law.
We not only explain that the violation of natural law sky vacuum alleged to have this light actually a stage show and pool show. Yeah, if the area doesn't exist, it's like saying, well, of course the ISS exists in Narnia. No, the area claimed to be Narnia isn't real. There's no travel through wardrobes. There's no travel through containerless high-pressure gas. We'd all be dead if there was a 10 to the minus 17 torr sky vacuum above our head. Gas fills space. It's a law of nature, entropic dispersion, high pressure to low pressure. If there's a 10 to the minus 17 torr sky vacuum, that's a pretty damn low pressure. Yeah, all of the gas would never have developed pressure in the first place if the sky was a vacuum. Furthermore, we can debunk the ISS based on the motion it's claimed to be taking being orbital, a derivation of flat Earth angle measurements. You're not going to infer, like I showed you, the angle measurements work from an equatorial plane in hell. That's the only place they do work from, because that's what orbital motion is. The line that the globe, if you look at a visualization of orbital motion, there's a line that traverses the center of a globe. In other words, the motion that it's moving along through and around the sun has to move along a line that goes through the center of the sphere Earth. Well, that line is representative of the maths that creates it. And that line has a disc, a flat plane disc, called the equatorial plane, that sits on that line. It's the derivation point of all the angles that are measured in the first place to create that motion. That's the motion that the ISS is claimed to move around when you take the isolated ball Earth and put something that originally was put in motion around the sun in motion around it. Well, you can't. You're violating the base principle of the measurement of Earth because it's flat. That's how they measured Earth. You don't have to like it. So any evidence we can have gas pressure without a container.
Negative, and that's the eye opener right there for normal everyday people. When that comes across their path, it's eye opening when you comprehend it, because it's like, no duh.
And everyday people, every day.
By the way, Nathan, will this be covered in the book?
Yes.
I posted that video after housekeeping if you wanted to go through it.
We'll see how we feel. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth? Is this thing on?
Is that the first housekeeping question, or is that the reason why we have housekeeping questions?
You know this is covered in the book. Are you going somewhere with this?
Yeah, because it seems to me that if housekeeping got started with the most absurd question there is, then all of the questions have to be absurd following.
When you, in 2025, break down some of the housekeeping questions, the nature of the question becomes more absurd than it originally was. Because we're coming at it from a mindset that has not only preordained indoctrination of ball belief that you're getting rid of slowly, but also the absurd question being wrapped up in a statement that is answered of its own asking in a way. So there's a lot of weirdness that goes on with the housekeeping question when you assess it based on the understanding of the Earth being measured flat to create all of these concepts global in nature. So your global orbital motion, for instance, you ask about it knowing that to ask about it, you've got to measure a flat Earth to ask about it. Which seems weird, doesn't it, Neil?
Absolutely.
We did it yesterday, so we're doing a bit of book editing, and not Righteous Force. Refracted curvature comes in. And I can't remember what the topic was, but I can remember what he was asking. He was like, well, are you pointing out that we've got... Oh, it was the Black Swan. He was saying, well, I know you've just gone through the chapter on the Black Swan, but at some point in the chapter, do you explain that just to have this conversation, a QE had to beg the question on multiple different fronts? Like, you had to really work with them to get this to function. You know, I mean, by the same token, I'm kind of my own rock and hard place situation, because I will be critical of people like Dave Weiss when they tell us that we see too far, but simultaneously we've got the modus tollens saying if Earth is a sphere, and in 2025 rhetoric we're like, why would we beg the question for them? Now QE's given them every extension, every advantage that he could possibly give them to formulate the modus tollens, and at the end of it you still have to ask the same question on refracted discs. Do you point out that we're giving them allowances that require us measure a flat Earth to then have their R value in place for us to assume that Earth is a sphere radius 3959, so that every distance to the geometric horizon below a flat surface level can be measured at 1.22 times the square root of the observer's height of a flat surface level we're measuring flat? You're like, the amount of stuff that has to be given to our opponents to have the Black Swan argument is absurd when you assess it in 2025, isn't it?
Totally absurd.
I mean, for me, there's going to be a turning point, and I thought it would be the book, but for whatever reason, shortly after my dad's funeral, I made a video about Earth being the flat Earth debate being over, and it's received incredibly positive responses. Now, to me, that video is no different to any other. Go back and look at all the edited videos I've made in the last 3 years. There's no difference as far as I'm concerned. It's exactly the same video. But it's the time that the video comes out the pennies dropped for almost all of the flat earthers that are in this community. The people around me, and I'm not just being like self-obsessed when I say it in this way, the people who surround me know Earth's flat. How's it put in Matrix? By the Oracle? Balls to bones. Are you listening to me, my audience? You all know it, don't you? You all know it's flat. So at the time that I brought out a video saying flat earth debate's over, and then explaining that there's no debate to be had, everyone measures earth flat. Everyone in the flat earth corner of the internet that are watching that video go, this is really easy to understand. There's nothing to it. It's not complicated. It's just how it is, and whenever we measure it, we'll affirm that fact that Earth is flat. By measurement, we can show it. And so will you, or anybody else who measures Earth ever. It ain't complicated. Now, when I said it 6 months ago, in a slightly different way, it didn't get met with the same response. Now, we've moved past this. In other words, we know it's flat, we measure it flat, and so do you, for a fair while. So having it sunk into every person in the audience that's on the flat side at the very least, and having them getting ready for something else to occur, the book coming out, you then point out, yeah, the book's coming out. But in reality, if there was going to be an uphaul, an upheaval, the uphaul and upheaval starts now as people start to register it. You in the audience, you all having this epiphany. I know it's not so immediate, but knowing that Earth is flat and being able to say it in one word, miles. There you go. Done. What do you mean it's measured flat? Miles. Well, that doesn't mean it's measured flat. Okay? You explain to me how miles works on a ball isn't something that anybody in my audience would say in 2025. They just say, yeah, it's linear. It's measured flat. Not, how can I open the door for you to argue that this works on a ball? We don't do that anymore. So back to the original point, when you look at a housekeeping question, which is that old guard way of keeping the rhetoric of a ball that's been argued and defeated alive in the mind's eye of anybody who watches the show, it's like now each time you assess that flat earth debate housekeeping question, you go, if the Earth is utilising a sphere edge for a horizon, you've got to measure it flat for the miles to assert the distance to it, and you've got to measure your height off a surface level that's flat, and then you've got to get up with an eye level that's parallel with the ground. You're like, everything I do that I measure is flat. So it's absurd to assert that there's a geometric sphere edge for a horizon below the surface level I've got to measure. Seems like a stupid place to be. Asking about containment is equally absurd when you know there's a law of nature dictating our perception of how gas behaves always and how we describe it to one another. And yeah, it always spreads out in all directions until it collides with something. It's just what it does. Unless it's, what, got a containerless sky vacuum above it, and then it doesn't? Because we need somewhere for the ISS to float around? Hell no!
Nathan, this sounds like celebrity flat Earth talk to me.
Celebrity flat Earth talk? What the hell are you babbling about?
Yeah, we're accused of being celebrity. That's like celebrity flat Earth. If you just come in and say Earth is measured flat, and then the argument.
What do you mean, celebrity? What does that word mean? What does that word mean?
Well, you're a celebrity. You're like big time. You're like hierarchy in the world. You know, you celebrate.
I don't think that's what celebrity means. I'm going to look it up right. When I was a kid, or not even a kid, when I was about 15, the school I went to in Stratford-upon-Avon had a nightclub, and the title, I'm sure it's still there, but it just definitely will have a different title now, was called Celebrities. And the reason it was called that was because your favourite pop star would come along to the nightclub, and you'd get to meet your pop star friend. Not friend, but you know what I mean, your pop idol, to name one of the shows that came after this concept, right? So celebrity to me is, if I was to name a very famous celebrity, right, I would say Taylor Swift. That's a celebrity, right? Now, if you go by somebody who's on the television, you might pick a lower lying. This reminds me of something in Futurama. When they're going down the line, it starts with the A-list celebrities and they're the movie stars, right? I started with a music star, but that's equal, fitting on this scale that Futurama is showing. And it's movie stars, and then lower down the pecking order, you've got TV stars, and then lower down the pecking order, you've got porn stars. And I think below that you've got YouTube stars. Anyway, I don't know. What's this celebrity nonsense? Where are you getting this from? Earth's measured flat. Who cares what people perceive me as? That's just a way of taking the argument away from what we actually say and making it about me. If you can make it about Nathan, you can make it that he's a child abuser. You can make it that he's got it wrong when he divides meters by kilometers. You can make it that he's misspeaked about lighthouses in the distance being the perfect globe proof. You can make it about things I've said that are completely irrelevant to the statements I'm making that need addressment in 2025. Yeah? Earth's measured flat with miles. End of argument.
But that's the thing. We speak about that here, and it's all well and great. But when we try to reach out into other platforms, so everybody's going in the same direction, we get told we don't want to hear about that celebrity flat Earth talk here. So that's all.
Well, then maybe I should address you in a different way, in the same way I used to address Spurs Schemo. What's with the flat Earth evangelism?
No, it's not evangelism. It's just going into other servers and talking, and how we used to visit 24/7 politics, just getting everybody in the right foot forward so we're all speaking. That's why you went to talk to Jaron, right? Before he flipped, or actually he was never a flat earther, but you wanted him, when he was representing flat earth, to be well represented.
Yes.
But now we're getting hit with celebrity nonsense.
Well, Jaron was a prominent, now former flat earther with a bigger channel than my own. I mean, he didn't have anywhere near the views I have, but he was certainly, in terms of subscriber counts, not that it really matters, bigger than I. Perceivably bigger. Like I say, just not as many views. Well, I wanted that perception to be utilised by Jaron when his audience is watching him produce the arguments that are winning arguments, and he never did. So that annoyed me to the point where I'd want to communicate with him, and all Jaron would ever want to do, because he's a shill, was argue back about how wrong I was about Earth being measured flat in all instances. It's like, well, no, it isn't. Now his rhetoric is, well, we don't understand big balls. Earth's like a Home Depot. I mean, it just seems like he's stupid because he's flipped. Well, he's not stupid. He's a shill. But he always was, right? You can only be in that way if you're always in that position. But then it makes perfect sense why you'd be bracing against somebody who's spending their entire life dedicated to making videos about the subject. Jaron seemed like a part-time flat earther. Never really got the rhetoric. Didn't really prove it. And he wasn't here to do that, was he? He was here to say, if the sun's up for 24 hours, measured off a flat plane with angles, then it can't be flat. Well, what about the angles? What about the measuring it flat bit? Did that not? How can you say it's not? You idiot. That's just stupid. No, shill.
What about the flight over there? Hello?
Yeah. Exactly. We could go on forever, right? But what? To create this on screen now. A ball with an equatorial plane bifurcating the centre of it. So that you can create this hemispherical view of the stars you measured through a protractor. Imagine the globe in this image is just a protractor. With all the degrees measured on it. Well, where's the angle to this star terminating? Is it terminating at the surface of the ball? Of course not. It's terminating inside it at the equatorial plane at vernal equinox. Because that's how we measure Earth. On the flat plane we measure this angle to Polaris with, to give us latitude. That's how Earth gets measured, flat. There's no getting away from it. There's no getting around it. Earth is always measured flat.
Yeah, anytime you're taking a measurement of anything, you have to do it from a flat plane. I mean, how would you do it any other way? You can't.
Yeah, so to turn around and say, well, we just don't understand big balls, I saw the sun. Okay, you saw the sun and measured it flat for 24 hours with elevation angles. Something that your party, Jaron's party in this instance, was acutely aware of. One of them kept proactively contacting me, kept on getting in touch like a creepy stalker. I counted off the amount of times I reactively responded to MC Toon with him stalker-like in my comments. And on the 100th occasion of this creepy stalker-like behaviour from MC Toon, met with the same response every single time. You measured Earth flat with your elevation angles in your 10k challenge. Well, on the 100th occasion, I responded reactively to this proactive onslaught of a stalker called MC Toon, intent on changing my mind like a globe Earth evangelist, telling me what's what, in spite of his own flat Earth measurements I kept pointing out to him. Well, lucky old me, I got a phone call while he's alleged to be in Antarctica. Might as well be in a tent of televisions. I don't care. He's measuring flat surface elevation angles for 24 hours to a sun on television screens, or maybe in an area they call Antarctica. I don't know. I didn't confirm. But I did confirm he measured Earth flat. I told him for the 100th time. That's not some creaky blinder exaggeration. That's an actual countable fact. You can go back through my comments and see every time this creepy stalker proactively contacted me to tell me Earth's a ball, and having me respond that Earth's measured flat by him every single time that I counted off. Well, Jaron was around him, and he knew Earth was measured flat by him. Now, my name was yelled quite literally into the Antarctic snow with the words, quote, he tried to deflect with measurements. That's me, Nathan Oakley, deflecting with the measurements I'd pointed out to MC Toon 100 times. And he was in the same party Jaron was. Now, are these dickheads paying the slightest bit of attention to their own measurements of a flat Earth, or are they measuring a flat Earth and then telling us it ain't flat? These people are idiots. Jaron is an idiot. Or a shill. Now, I don't really care either way. I cared when I thought he was a legitimate flat earther, that he didn't understand how Earth was flat and just believed it. And then went around suggesting that if you see a sun that you measure off a flat Earth for 24 hours, it means it ain't flat. Irritating, but now less so because he's just another numpty idiot. Well, there's allegedly billions of them, isn't there? Yeah? All of them on the same ball Jaron thinks he's in. Measuring angles from the equatorial plane. Yeah, these idiots don't understand how their own ball works. Us, we got diagrams of it coming up daily. What's that? Nathan said in 2016 that the lighthouse was the perfect globe proof if we saw one pixel flashing from a camera lens that we photographed when actually out doing this stuff, when we were so dumb to not appreciate the distance to the lighthouse is a linear mile flat Earth only distance measurement. We were stupid idiots. Now we know better, don't we?
Nah, that's you're being too hard on yourself. It's not that we were stupid idiots. It's that we were searching for Earth curve because that's how it was presented to us. Like we had to find something that was never there. But the unique thing about that whole Antarctica thing is that was a Sunday when you went live, and he came seeking you out, and then said you deflected with measurements. Classic.
Yeah, what measurements are those? The ones that the people in my comments... I loved it. There's someone left a comment that was like, welcome to the automated anti-flat earther / global response section. Pick a letter that best corresponds your globe earth response. A, there are no measurements of a flat earth. They've never been presented. B, he tried to deflect with measurements. C, Nathan beats his kids. D, where are the guns, Nathan? This is on a video pointing out that all Earth measurements are flat in all instances. Same one we were talking about in the pre-show. The end of flat Earth debate.
Oh, yes, the 15-minute one you put out. Yeah, that was good. Very good. Yeah, I mean, people are catching on.
They already knew. It's just, it seems like in the last couple of months, the penny has dropped. Because when I hear it, you can tell by the way someone affirms that they understand. It happened the other day with Vaxi. He started describing something, and for me, I'm like, yeah, you know, Earth's measured flat. It's perfectly acceptable. There's nothing else to discuss with Waxy Waxy in this regard. He gets it. And then he's explaining to us how at some point the penny dropped and Earth being measured flat is really obvious now to him. And then he started describing Zenith wrong with Brian, and Brian immediately is all over him, right? Flies on the proverbial. And rightly so, if you're going to start discussing this with globe believers, you've got to know your stuff. Alternatively, if you're not going to be a flat Earth evangelist, you don't need to know anything about how heliocentric worldviews utilise flat Earth measurements to create the sphericity I'm showing on diagrams on a daily basis. You don't need any of that. You just need to know that Earth is measured flat and then go and look for any example of any Earth measurement ever. And the second you notice that it's measured flat, you know it to be true, you can get on with your day. Just don't be that guy. Don't be that girl who wants to convert next man with limited information about how you are somehow special because you figured out that Earth was measured flat. Yeah, it always was. And the globe came from those measurements that you're so special for knowing. So you're not that special after all. The globe utilised the same special measurements you found out about? Yeah, they always were being used, but just to create a globe, as crazy as that sounds. That's why they had no qualms about saying, yeah, it's a really big ball that we measure flat. That's why they did it. So you're not special. Get on with your day. But next time somebody tells you Earth's a ball, just roll your eyes. Don't tell them, actually, the ball you think you're on is measured at vernal equinox from the equatorial plane inside the globe, don't you know? Don't do that. Me, I run a show. I've got a YouTube channel. I'm doing this for my living. But if you're just at a family dinner, sat down with loved ones, just enjoy their company. Enjoy their love. Embrace them.
Or in a couple of months, you can hand them the book. Vaxi was discussing the circles of equal altitude yesterday. He was breaking that down, which made us understand that he understood totally.
Yes. Yeah, there's a certain communication that you have, and I'm getting it in the comments. It's just increased tenfold in the last couple of months with the affirmation from people letting me know that they know. The way they're saying they know in one or two words in their response in the comment section tells me, you get it. Earth being measured flat is really simple. So when I think back to the people who were telling me, you can't say it's measured flat, you think, yeah, you can. That's exactly what we all should be saying in unison, because it is. Why would I be told not to say it? Very, very, very suspicious. Now, don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I was just going to say, once you realize what measurements are and how they're acquired, it is very simple.
It is, but I'm describing something when I say it's measured flat. Describing an aspect of Earth, descriptive only. Now, if you go into the geometry, you wouldn't use that word. When I go into more accurate representations of how sphere Earth has utilised an asymptotically flat plane, that's how it gets described. If you're going to utilise mathematical words that actually have measurements attached to them. The plane of reference is measured for the angle when you take an elevation to the sun for 24 hours in Antarctica. That would be you measuring Earth flat. Now, how I just phrased that may seem so easy. Just to listen to, it sounded like silk, right? It's because I got a beautiful voice. But there's caveats that have been incorporated into my phraseology so that I can't be moaned at by Brian. In other words, I describe how the measurement takes place and then use the description of what's just occurred. So saying Earth's measured flat comes as the description of what was mathematically described when measuring an elevation angle with respect to a planar surface of Earth. Those are different things that are said in the exact same way, sometimes with the same words, and sometimes in the exact same order. But even though they're in the same order, sometimes they can be objectionable, because flat's just a description. So to say measured flat can be, depending on circumstance, a misnomer. Now that had to be drilled into me. I smile ear to ear because I can concisely detail this. If you're listening, Brian, thank you. There's a few others, not just Brian. There's a few others that drilled it into me in terms of the difference between the reference and the measurement. But there was also someone else who was pretending to do that. I won't mention any names. Whilst telling me I shouldn't say Earth's measured flat, which it absolutely is.
Yeah, well, it is. We're talking about the measurement. We're talking about Earth, aren't we?
Yeah.
So what? You took a shortcut. The concept is understandable.
Yeah. When the reason I braced against it, because obviously you second guess when you start something new. This turn of phrase might be what I'm remembered for. Earth is measured flat. Up until that turn of phrase, the phraseology was never used in that way until I found where it was and who was using it in that way. Well, the ballers were. Because when they need to measure Earth flat, they didn't make any bones about it whatsoever. So when I went and looked for people just describing, because that's all flat is, how they measure Earth, and it got described as being measured flat, I went, oh, it's all about understanding the context of the measurement and the geometry for the description of a flat Earth that has been measured, to make all the sense in the world if you get the words in the right order. And sometimes you can have them in the right order and still be wrong because of the preceding words that you used in a semi-accurate descriptive way for an actual measurement of Earth's surface, which will always be flat. So I can do this all day. The words come easy when you understand the concept, is the point.
Yeah, conspiracy cats. I'll give you a flat Earth. Yeah, you certainly will.
You will, because you know how it works. And therefore, it's a caveat you need to throw in. Yeah? But it's much easier if you say, I'm being generous to my opponent when I utilise a flat surface to measure perspective. Because Earth will be flat to do that. Like all measurements, perspective or otherwise, miles or otherwise, heights or otherwise, they'll all be flat. Because that's what Earth is. When we measure it, that's how it gets measured.
Yeah, you can't get around that. That's it. Game over.
Yeah. Thank God it's Friday. I'm looking forward to having a little snooze. What do you call it is it siesta when they sleep in the day?
Call it a nap.
It's just too hot in the middle of the day, right when my show takes place, because it's the most widespread in terms of the amount of people potentially awake. Now, it's unfortunate that my biggest audience are just getting out of bed, but that's how it works. This is the right time to capture the most places awake from the beginning to the end of the show. It might be that the Aussies are really, really sleepy and you guys are just getting out of bed and still taste the toothpaste, but that's how it works. But it means that I'm right in the middle of the day here, so it is absolutely swelteringly hot here in the UK currently. And it's not like if someone says, well, it's only 30 degrees. Like, no, you don't understand. It's 30 British degrees.
Yeah, an air conditioner solves all those issues.
Yeah, we don't have that here. I should put my fan back on, but I'm going to be doing a round out in the next. I suppose I could tolerate it for 5 minutes. Find the stupid remote control. That's it. My brain started to boil. I'm starting to lose things.
Well, before you lose things, you can plug the ball busters for tomorrow.
Is there a ball busters tomorrow?
Yes.
Be here or be sphere on the Quantum Eraser YouTube channel. 7 p.m. UK, 2 p.m. Central Standard. Oh, it's 8 p.m. UK, isn't it? 8 p.m. UK, 2 p.m. Central Standard on the Quantum Eraser YouTube channel. Be here or be sphere. Terms and conditions may apply. Diarrhea, vomiting, and other side effects may occur.
Which, by the way, we noticed a little, the videos that QE goes over with that biologist, James Tor guy. There was a few phrases that he used that I've only heard QE use. And when James Tor, before all of these new findings, he never used these terminologies.
Like what?
Like alpha and delta G. So
That's not unique to
listening.
QE. Do you think delta G is unique to QE?
No.
Sorry.
What I'm saying is, hold on. What I'm
I'll tell
saying
thee.
is, James Tor never used that speech before.
Oh, the other way round. You're saying that the use of this highly technical... Is it a disco band from the 70s?
What, Delta G?
Yeah, like Brown Girl in the Ring. Brown Girl in... Oh, that was Boney M. Yeah, Delta G. So you're saying he's utilising QE's terminology because he's actually gone and looked at what QE talks about.
Or somebody's presented him some stuff. Could be, because when speaking about the topics, he never used that phraseology, ever. You know, so it's just a little coincidence.
QE is massively underappreciated. I mean, sometimes when I moan, I'm like, you know, I want more people watching. There's only 67 people watching this absolutely amazing show. It should be 400, right? And then you look at QE and go, yeah, QE's a lot more underappreciated than I am, given that I've taken his rhetoric and am more popular than he is with the success of his rhetoric. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that's the only reason I've built up success, but you know what I'm driving at. Obviously, I smell better than he does.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. He is underappreciated.
Yeah, he is hugely underappreciated. And as a resource generally, I don't mean like for flat earthers or just the people he opposes who need to research how he's pummeling them. It's like, I'm getting whipped, but I'm not exactly sure what this whip's made of. Should really go and find out.
I'll give you, for instance, not only James Tor, but my son came to me the other day, my oldest son. And he said, can you ask QE that I need some information? I've been in a debate about quantum mechanics. I need certain things. Now, in times past, he would never, like repulse when you hear QE. But now he's coming and asking for certain things that he needs in a debate he's having online.
Fair enough. We haven't had a single word all live show from Discord.
I was thinking the same thing. I was going to ask you, are they still alive over there?
I don't know. There's 3 people in there and my light's flashing, so I'm going to assume that they can hear me. But nobody said a single word.
Hello and good morning.
Good morning.
Hello, good morning. How you doing?
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Wow, look at them all. Can you all shut up? Bloody hellfire. Can you go on mute?
2 minutes before the show
Bloody
ends, you
interruptions.
decide to pipe up?
That's an old Italian joke about a man who never speaks with his Italian wife who's constantly talking about how the husband won't shut up, won't ever speak.
What do you want me to say? My wife 2 times me?
You got it.
Young's talking.
That's it. He never shuts up.
But in Italian, it sounds better. It's from, what is that, from Goodfellas?
I think it is from Goodfellas, yeah.
The mother tells the joke. Yeah, that's funny.
Right, it's going to be a relatively early round out, that is to say, on the hour. I know you'll normally have about 10 or 15 minutes more, but it is sweltering here. So, the reason I was getting your attention, Discord, was, is there anything that you did want to add? Is there any pressing matters before I do actually round out the live show? Good though it's been.
Yeah, I got some new YouTube videos. You guys can go check that out on the Righteous Force channel.
You mean be here or be sphere on the Righteous Force YouTube channel? Christian content added daily. I don't know if there is, I'm just making stuff up.
It's more consistent now, yeah, so go check it out.
The Righteous Force YouTube channel, that is. You don't have to do a promo.
Probably consistently wrong, but...
Oh, here we go. All right, I'm going to round out. This is going to turn into something nasty. I can just feel it. He's getting moaned. He's moaning. He was moaning behind your back that you haven't given him mod status, Righteous. No reply. Right, I'm going to round up. With that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G Plus panels for making today's live show possible. If you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, however, stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Fortunately, though, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So, another massive thank you to all of you who liked, commented, shared, subscribed, joined as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member. Hit me up on Ko-Fi, PayPal, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.